Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to 3302. This is where I take a look at the news and happenings in and around Elite Dangerous. Today we're going to take a look at the Distant Worlds expedition nearing its final destination. Saitek have released a new Hotas X-56 and there's a new Buckyball race about to get underway. The Distant Worlds expedition is finally arriving at its ultimate destination this week at Beagle Point at the very edge of the galaxy. Over 1,000 commanders set out on the 14th of January and have spent very close to 2 months in flight in travel. That's a distance of 65,000 light years, roughly in a direct route, or 81,000 light years total travelled. A very long time to do all that, and a lot of credit due to all the commanders involved in that. And, again, I want to thank Dr. Kai and Eramis for organising the entire event, as well as everyone else that has helped out along the way. There's a lot of events planned at Beagle Point from the 2nd of April to the 10th of April, and most of those are going to be detailed in the Distant Worlds newsletter. Once again, I will link the forum thread that contains all the newsletters in the video description. There's also members of the fleet who are hoping to organise a rather epic race on the 10th of April to celebrate the end of the entire Distant Worlds expedition. More details on this should be revealed nearer the time, but if you keep an eye on Shibuka's YouTube channel, you should be able to find out about it more there as the time nears. Unfortunately, I'm away from home for the entirety of this week, which is a bit unfortunate really, because after tagging along for all this distance, I would have liked to have been there with all of the other players. But that said, do expect some extensive coverage of the Distant Worlds arrival there from a whole bunch of other YouTubers, as well as a lot of Twitch streamers. Ed Lewis from the Frontier is also going to be there, and this will form one of his Educating Ed episodes. You'll be able to see that on the official Frontier forums, and again I'll link that in the video description so you can go find that out. But that's going to be on the 7th of April, so well worth watching them. Ed is always great to watch. For those of you that use Hotas sticks like the Saitek X-52 or the Saitek X-55, or even the Thrustmaster Warthog, you may be interested in the news that Saitek are releasing a new Hotas setup. This is the Hotas X-56, and you can see it here in the image there on the video. It's very similar to the current build of the X-55, albeit it's got a slightly different paint job. I'm not a particular fan of the colours there, but nonetheless always found the X-55 to be a pretty decent Hotas. Now there are some changes on this stick between the 56 and the 55. The new version has got 2 analog switches, one located on the stick and the other located on the throttle, and this would come in pretty handy. From what I understand, there's also been a few build quality improvements, such as the inclusion of slightly longer life internal switches. I've no idea whether or not the X-56 will be a worthy upgrade from an X-55 if you already have one of them. But I've always found, like I say, the X-55 to be a very good stick, so I don't see why the X-56 wouldn't be. But if I can get my hands on one, then I'll be sure to do a review on it and let you know just what they're exactly like. You may remember that a few weeks ago I mentioned an initiative formed by the Pioneers Cooperative to organise a community goal to colonise the stars. Now, this is something that I feel a lot of people are probably very interested in. That's to get a space station way out there in relative deep space, somewhere in the region of 2,000 to 3,000 light years away from the edge of inhabited space, in the direction toward the centre of the galaxy and Sagittarius A. There's many reasons that this would be an exciting prospect. Aside from the fact that we would be expanding civilization further out into space, it would also give explorers a place to set out from and return to before they get back to inhabited space. It would also enable people to play in a remote and isolated area of space, and I think something like that should never be underestimated. It can be a very nice feeling to do that. Now, Frontier have never said that they'd actually commit to doing this community goal, but it's something I think a lot of the community would actually like, and with that in mind, the Pioneers Cooperative went ahead and organised a competition for people to go out and search for a suitable system to colonise. A number of these were found, 5 of them were voted as potential candidates, and these were forwarded to Frontier. Now, we still don't know if the community goal is actually liable to happen, But if you're interested in this, do go onto the forums, do go onto Twitter, do let Frontier know that you'd be interested in it. I'm going to put a tweet out there just to help gauge a bit of interest, so do please retweet that, do please reply to it, like it, whatever you need to do, just to get some attention on the subject. The ultimate idea isn't that this station would belong to any one person or to any group, but rather that it would be a jumping off point into deeper space, as well as an isolated hub for players to gather at, and who knows, it could also act as a springboard to get us further, even deeper into space. The Buckyball Racers are also organising a new race, and interestingly enough it's on the same date as the arrival at Distant Wells. That's the 2nd of April to the 10th of April. Now this race has got some interesting twists to it. You'll need to race across multiple planets, recall your ship, and then drive across some distance of each planetary surface. Now this is something I'd certainly love to get involved in, but as I said, unfortunately I'm away from home for this week. But if you're interested, again, the details are in the video description, do go check it out. Buckyball have been organising races for pretty much as long as Elite Dangerous has been going, and their events are always well worth checking out. So there's a lot of community news on Elite this week, but unfortunately any news on the game itself is very thin on the ground. Actually, to be perfectly honest, it's non-existent. The newsletter didn't give us any new information on what to expect from the patch, and it hasn't yet given any further indication as to when we can expect beta to drop, but we do know that's going to happen in May, so hopefully within the next 4 to 5 weeks we should actually have beta in our hands, and in the next 2 to 3 weeks we should start getting some more solid information. And personally, I'm actually pretty confident that patch 2.1 is going to be a biggie, and it's going to be a turning point for the game as a whole. It is of course disappointing that by the time that patch arrives that we are 7 months into the season, and that's going to be the first major patch, but sometimes I guess that's just the way it goes. I do though think it's going to be worth the wait. As I mentioned a few times in this video now, I'm going to be away from home for the entirety of this week. There will still of course be video releases, but there may be slightly less of them than you usually expect. But don't worry, next week I'll be back to the regular schedule, and I've got a lot of videos planned. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. This is Space Engine, I'm Obsidian Ant, and today we're going to go on a tour through space. Now, Space Engine, for those of you that don't know, is a fully simulated universe. You can go absolutely anywhere within it, any planet, any star, any galaxy, any nebula, literally anywhere you can imagine. The galaxies out there are full of natural wonders, full of beauty. It's absolutely stunning places like these two massive planets here. Now these two planets are extremely hot, very close to their local star. The one in the background there is a gas giant, and this planet here is known as a scorched desert.